Costa Series Championship wrap-up with the top 10 himself, Bryan Thrift, and how to catch a 27-pound, that's right, 27-pound mega bag on Kentucky Lake. 27.8.
Don't show me.
Mega bag on Kentucky Lake in the fall. We are back. Jeff gave me the head nod instead of the thumbs up this time.
Right. Keep you guessing. Got to keep you guessing.
That's right. We're back, guys. Thanks for joining tonight. We've got Bryan back with us. Bryan's been gone at the Costa Series for 2 weeks. That's right.
For 2 weeks.
That's right.
Glad to be back.
When you're a hammer like Thrift, you're in large demand, and quite often too. So we're going to talk about the Costa Championship, which was last week on Kentucky Lake. This man right here caught a 27.5-pound bag the first day and had an 7-pound lead going in the second day. And Jeff and I were talking about ideas already about
so y'all
all this stuff.
It was probably my fault. So y'all jinxed me.
Oh, that's y'all's fault. We 100% jinxed you.
I wondered whose fault it was. So that's good to know.
Yeah, so let's I'm gonna let Bryan take the wheel here, talk about the Costa Championship, how it went down, and how he caught. Now, don't hold back. Everybody wants to know how he caught 27.5 pounds on Kentucky Lake.
Well, it was fun for one day. First off, let me start at practice. Practice was miserable. It was cold every morning, highs in the upper 40s, frost every morning, and I think I got 6 keeper bites in 4 days of practice.
Sounds like deer hunting weather, not fishing weather.
I know. I almost hit an 8-pointer on the way to the lake one morning. It's a good one. But anyways, so 6 keeper bites in all of practice. Me and Bryan knew we were staying together. He was in the same boat for 5 to 8 keeper bites. So I think he had a few more bites than I did in practice. And me being hard-headed as I am, I know you hear all the stories. I'll throw the walking baits at Kentucky Lake in the fall. So I've got my Demiki Rambler and my Spook. And I'm like, first day of the tournament, I'm just going to go to work. I'm going to throw this all day because I don't think I can catch one doing anything else. So this is what I'm going to do. And it ended up working out pretty good.
Yeah, I would say. To the tune of 27 pounds.
27.5 pounds.
You caught all of them on topwater.
Caught every one of them on topwater, on the Demiki Rambler and a Spook. And the cool thing about it was...
Now you told me, how many keepers did you catch?
I caught 7 keepers Thursday, the first day of the event.
So a 27.5-pound bag, people look at that online and they're like, God, he smashed
him. Yeah, he killed him. But
and you did.
Yes. Weight-wise, it was an excellent day. Bite-wise, well, I guess it was excellent compared to the next 2 days.
We weren't going to talk about those.
Yeah, no, we got to talk about that. You got to take the good with the bad.
Amen.
I'm just glad one good day was better than 2 bad days.
If you're going to have a good day, you might as well do it to the tune of 27.5 pounds.
Exactly. I mean, I at least scared everybody the first day. They thought I was going to win. I knew better. I mean, all the people that interviewed me at the weigh-in after the turn, I was like, this was a lucky miracle bag. There's no way I can do this again. And I've kept my word. I didn't do it again. So that's pretty much how it went down. But what happened was I caught like a keeper on a bar, and I'm just going down through there fishing. I'm like, well, I don't have anywhere else to go, so I'm just going to continue going down this bar on a Kentucky Lake ledge. And so I'm trolling down it, walking that Rambler for like a mile, and I missed one. And I was like, dang, I got a bite, surprised me. So I keep on fishing.
This was in practice?
No, this is in the tournament Thursday.
Okay, so you're just going.
This is the prelude to the 27-pound bag right here.
Gotcha.
All right, so I miss this fish. I fish on around, and about 2 hours later, I come back to where I missed this fish at. And I sit there, I put my power poles down, And I made that
And
same exact.
tell people how shallow you are.
Yeah, it's
fishing.
like 2.5 feet.
Yes, that's shallow.
Shallow. So I can see the top of the ledge and the break, and I'm throwing up there. It's like 2.5 feet. I got my power poles down, and I throw in this same spot for 30 minutes straight.
Same cast.
Same cast.
In 2 foot of water.
2 foot of water. 30 minutes straight. Miss this fish 3 times, and then I catch him.
And it's the same fish every time. You don't
Same
think
fish
there's not a group
every
of
time.
And is it a good one?
It's a 7.5 pounder.
So I mean, what's your opinion on what that fish was doing, just sitting there?
I guess that's
Was there a bunch of gizzard shad up there or something, or
not that I'm aware of. I guess it was just,
or maybe
that was his home.
Feeding.
Yeah, maybe he had been up there feeding. That was his home, and I finally pissed him off enough to actually land him. He would roll under my bait and stuff like that, and then once I caught him, the light kind of went off in my hand, like ching. I maybe learned something.
You really have to pester him into biting.
Really have to slow down. So I would move 40 feet, put the power poles down, fish 30 minutes, move 40 feet, put the power poles down, fish 30 minutes. That's how I caught a 27.5 pound bag at Kentucky Lake.
That's so funny, because that is so opposite of what everybody thinks about shallow top water fishing.
Exactly. And I think the product of that is, that's not a secret on Kentucky Lake. I mean, throwing a walking bait in the fall on Kentucky Lake, that's what you do. It's kind of like throwing a red rattle trap at Gunners in February. That's just what you do. That's the way you win tournaments. And I guess they're so used to seeing that style of bait and people fishing for those fish so much, because that's what everybody wants to do, that was a way to get them to bite. So after I weigh in and I had 27.5, I'm thinking, I might have figured something out.
Right. I heard you say that on the live.
Yeah,
deal.
I was thinking, I might have figured something out, because I didn't really play with it enough after I caught my 5th one. I obviously left and didn't do it anymore, went and looked for new stuff, and so I was hoping that Friday and Saturday this was going to carry me through, so I did that all day Friday and got 0 topwater bites.
That's amazing.
Not one.
But that's good you figured that out, because now did you know that fish was that big when it kept rolling on your bait?
No.
So you
I had no idea.
Was it just coming up nipping at it?
Just coming up nipping or swirling or something like that.
Now, did you change baits to get him to bite, or
No.
did you kept throwing the same bait?
I kept throwing that Rambler, the same.
It's just like a bed bass in the spring. You just irritate him in the bite.
That's the only thing I can figure. So when I go back in there Friday, I do the same thing, fish it twice, never get a bite. And I'm like, well, maybe I haven't figured anything out, or I've caught them all. So I went with the theory that I caught them all and it's going to work somewhere else. So I went to another ledge and tried it, never got a bite. And
the sacrifice was it was so time consuming.
Yeah, so time consuming, because it's literally taking you an hour and a half to go, 300 yards down a ledge. So you're not covering very much water at all. It's got to be a thing that you've got confidence to do, to discipline yourself enough to do it. But then Saturday, I just kind of abandoned that whole deal and went fishing, and I got one bite all day long, and it was a 6 pounder, and I missed it. So
and that Brian just spilled the beans, and I'm proud of you for telling the truth about that, because that's a heck of a tip to people that fish that lake this time of year. There's not a lot of people that would have figured that out, number one.
No, and I figured it out on accident.
And the guy who won figured it out, obviously.
Yes.
I don't know if you read his report.
I read Bradford's report.
He said, I found an area. He said, I had to really, really slow down.
Yep.
And he threw a couple different walking baits, and he ended up switching to a fluke the last day and catching a couple key fish. But so a couple of the guys that did really well seemed like that was a common denominator for a lot of them.
I really think it was. It was kind of being in an area that you were comfortable in, you liked, and really slowing down to get those bigger fish to bite. And that's what Bradford he executed it to a T. I mean, he had 3 or 4 places, but they were kind of in the same area. I mean,
so
probably
he could bounce around, not consume
right.
so much time.
He wasn't eating up time running, and he made those fish bite. I mean, he was being very stealthy, turning his graph off, using his power poles, trying not to run the trolling motor, and it worked out for him to the tune of $50,000. I just wish I'd have been smart enough to go find some more fish.
Well, I mean, I know you. I'm sure you covered plenty of water. You just
that was my thought. I think that was my downfall. I'm like, all right, I've got a 27-pound lead, so come Friday when I don't have any bites, I'm thinking, I can win this thing on shaky head or something like that. Now,
Go catch 10 pounds.
Catch 8 pounds a day, I can win this thing.
Right.
So
yeah.
I just couldn't make myself do it because I caught 27 pounds on a ram.
Yeah,
that's fun.
So even one of the best in the world can't get off catching a 27-pound bag on topwater, and I don't blame you. I'd have to go back to it too.
I should have changed areas of the lake. I should have went just somewhere totally different, blind, and just went with it.
Well, honestly, I figured as much as you like that Alabama rig, I figured that's what you caught them on.
Well, I tried to in practice when it was cold, and I caught a couple on it, and that was my plan. I mean, I'd had 2 or 3 cheaper bites on A rig in practice, and when I actually started the tournament, I started it with an A rig. But we had 2 warm nights the night before the first day of the tournament, and the water crept back up in the upper 60s, and the A rig bite just went away for me. I mean, I couldn't get bit at all.
I didn't see, but I think Hollowell might have caught a couple on it.
Yeah, I think he did.
For the most part, it looked like a plopper and walking baits.
Top water, and there were also some fish caught on a chatterbait. A couple of guys in the top 10 caught some chatterbait fish, and so
I saw, and the guy, Bill Chapman, the guy who finished 10th, he said he caught a lot of his fish on jig.
Yep.
A small finesse jig.
I've seen that too. But
so,
I think the key thing at Kentucky in the fall is shallow. I think that's
shallow.
That's the only
down.
key. Shallow.
and that probably had a lot to do. I guess this time of year, as they do everywhere around here, they get very conditioned. Yeah. And those fish are as pressured as any fish in the country.
Yeah, Kentucky Lake has so many big tournaments, and I think there was a couple of big tournaments. Right before we got there, I think they got the BFL wild card there this weekend. I want any of the guys watching, I want to wish you luck and have fun. I'm glad I'm not there. My elbow can't take walking that Rambler for any longer.
I was going to say.
I'm done till like March.
People think what we do is not work, but if you go out and throw a jerkbait or a big walking spook or something like that for 10, 12 hours a day, I promise you.
Yeah, it's hard work, but it's fun. The whole key to it for me is, I'm going to give you a tip on walking baits like this. The rod I use is a Fitzgerald frog rod I designed. It's my signature series rod. But a lot of people, when they're working these spooks or ramblers or stuff like that, you make those super long casts and you've got your rod down toward the water twitching it. A little technique, if that starts hurting your elbow, hold the rod straight up in the air and work it with the reel. You can get it walking with the rod, and then you can half turn the reel. And every time you half turn that reel, it'll... That's a lot easier on your elbow and your forearm. So if you're ever out there throwing those walking baits days on end and starts hurting, try doing it like that, walking it with the rod up in the air and walking it with the reel. I'm sure to help me a lot.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to have a giveaway later in the show. This is something we're going to probably start doing every single show. What we're going to be doing is giving away an FLW membership to one of you guys that's actually tuned in live. Later in the show, Brian's going to ask a trivia question. It'll be FLW related, and the first person to answer that correctly gets an FLW membership. That's your membership for a year. It includes a little gift pack here. You got a calendar. You got the magazine subscription for a year. You got tournament eligibility for a year. You get a little tackle pack, a hat, decal. And what we'll do is we'll give you a code to go online.
And a sweet calendar.
Yeah, pretty sweet calendar. I think Mr. December in there is pretty sexy, isn't he?
I don't know. Let me look and see. Oh, no. Look, he's in the midst of losing a fish.
Actually,
they
I
put
was.
Mr. December losing a bass.
What you didn't see in that picture is me knocking that big smallmouth off with the net right before that bait.
Did you really?
I promise. I hit him right upside the head with that net. And that was at the Forest Look Up last year at Wheeler Lake. Yeah, first
Was
time.
it really?
Yep. So,
but you caught the fish.
No. I missed it with the net. After
No,
I hit
you
it,
didn't.
it jumped and it came off. Yeah.
So they got a beautiful photo
of you
supposedly netting a 4-pound smallmouth.
It was bad. Bad deal. So,
I'd be mad about that, because now every time you look at the calendar, month of
it's
December.
almost December to be over, and then I'll throw that calendar away and do it. So, we do have that calendar in our house, though. So, all right. So we're gonna get to that trivia question. We got a couple pre-show questions we're gonna knock out, guys, and we're gonna get to your questions live. Let's jump into the pre-show questions. We've just got a couple that we're gonna answer tonight. Let's see. This one is for both Brian and myself. It's from Donnie. Donnie, thanks for the question. He says, I know you guys aren't the biggest fans of Florida, but this year, and that is correct, Brian and
I don't mind Florida.
Yeah, we like fishing in Florida. The tournaments, they've been all over the map for me, as they have for Brian. But he said, no, you guys aren't the biggest fans of Florida, but this year you have the first coast event, then the first 2 tour events down there also. Yeah, so our first 2 tour events next year are at Lake Okeechobee and Harris Chain. When you're practicing on Lake Okeechobee, besides clean water, what are some of the things you look for? Also, I will be fishing the coast as a co-angler, and I fish the BFLs as a boater, and Okeechobee is my home lake. So will one of you take me out for a day of practice while you're down there? And Matt needs to share some stories from his professional paintball days. Thanks for your time.
I forgot you were a professional paintballer back in the day.
We'll save the paintball chat for another time. But, and yeah, Donnie, I've actually got a co-angler that practices with me, and Brian does too. So, but anytime we don't have somebody in the boat with us during practice, you'd be more than welcome to join us. As long as you're confirmed in the tournament. We don't want to break any rules.
You got to be confirmed in the tour tournament.
To answer your question about practicing on Okeechobee, first thing I want to do is know, because those fish down there, and I'll answer real quick, and then I'll turn it over to Brian. But those fish down there spawn for like 4 months. I mean, there's multiple ways.
Supposedly.
Supposedly, yeah. We've obviously never dialed into that very well.
No, I've never been out it.
So when I get down there, I want to try to figure out kind of where those fish are in that stage, because I know there's multiple ways of fish coming and going. I want to find one of those transition areas where I can catch both pre-spawn, post-spawn, and spawners, and that's mainly because when we're down there, typically January or February, we have all 3. You know, more post-spawners probably than anything.
Yeah, and we seem to always hit a cold front when we go down there.
Yeah, absolutely. The cold
Every
fronts,
time.
The cold fronts of bad weather chase us all over the country. Yeah. But that being said, the first thing I want to do is figure out what stage of fish are in. And it's always, for me, it's been, you get warmer weather, you know, you catch them more on moving baits like your swim baits, swim jigs, stuff like that. You get those cold fronts, you got to really slow down in Florida, whether you're pitching a little lunker stick like a soft stick bait around, or you're throwing a big worm and soaking it, or you're punching mats, something like that. Turn it over to Brian.
Me and Okeechobee, I've kind of got a love-hate relationship. I won the first ever tournament I ever fished there, and I don't know that I've ever been close to winning there since. And I think that's because I know more about Okeechobee now than I did the first time I went. The first time I went, I knew absolutely nothing about the lake, and I went and did my own thing and won the tournament. And now that I supposedly know what I'm supposed to be doing, it never works out. So, but I agree with Matt. I try to find a area. To me, Okeechobee is more of an area lake. It's not a run and gun style lake where you catch one here, one over there. It's more of find an area that fish are actively using. They're coming, they're going, they're spawning, they're staging, and just camp out in that one area. You know, it might be a small 100-yard square, or it could be a half-mile square. But the thing I try to do is I try to find a home there, somewhere I can run to, turn that Evinrude motor off, put the trolling motor in, fish around until it's time to come back in and crank up and run back in. That's how I try to approach it.
Okay, so good tips for you there, Donnie. All right, next question is from Chad. Chad says, great show, guys. Really appreciate the info. A couple of related questions. For the angler looking to get into local and BFL tournaments, how would you approach boat buying? Would you worry about contingency cash at all? I like the construction and layout of Ranger boats. They seem to carry a steep premium compared to a like-size Skeeter, Legend, Triton, etc. Thoughts? Well, if you want Brian and I's thoughts, we both... Brian
always go with the contingency money.
Always go with the contingency money.
Yeah.
Brian has put a lot more than I have, but I have probably with Toyota, Ranger, Power Pole, TH Marine,
Costa.
I mean, I know I'm done well, but Brian's done extremely well.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about $5,000 to $30,000 increase in your winnings.
Absolutely.
Just in contingency money.
And
especially on the tour level and BFL level, I mean, it could be a couple $1,000s, but I learned that lesson the hard way. I started out fishing the Costas in 2005 as a co-angler, and I didn't have a Ranger boat. I think back then I was running a Stratus, and I won 2 Costas back to back as a co-angler, and would have won a $40,000 boat in both of them. But instead, I get $5,000 cash, so I pretty much cost myself $70,000.
So we're talking about contingency. And Brian, when he started fishing as a co-angler in the Costa division, he fished.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
He won 2 tournaments back to back, wasn't it?
Back to back.
Not in a Ranger.
Not well. He was a co-angler, but at the time, if you were
a Ranger Cup as a co-angler,
you got 5,000 cash for winning. Period.
Yep.
But if you were a Ranger owner, you got a brand new Ranger.
you run a new, but you won a boat too.
And you missed it twice.
I run 2 tournaments back. I won one at Santee and one at Eufaula, and lost $70,000. I won $10,000, but I lost $70,000.
Yeah, and Chad and the BFLs.
I lost $50,000 last weekend.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had plans for your boat.
Oh, back to the reason I lost at the Coastal Championship.
Yeah, so Chad,
My bad.
In the BFLs, man.
Blame it on you, Jeff.
The thing about the BFLs, you can finish 6th or 7th or 8th. Jeff, quit stealing our sour punch straws over here.
Hey, Jack, I bought
I know
This pack's empty. It's gone.
Is you can finish 5th in a BFL and get a check for $600, and you can make twice that in contingency.
Yeah,
if
through
you got all
Evinrude, Ranger,
Toyota pays, Lear pays, Costa pays, Ranger pays. So yes, absolutely, it pays to be contingency eligible. Let's see.
And plus, they're all the best products anyway.
Absolutely. Ranger is unbelievable. I mean, we can't say enough about them. But all right, so this question's for Brian. This is our last. This one's from Chad. Also said, what is it about Clear Lake that makes it such a good fishery compared to the lakes around our area in North and South Carolina?
A lot more fish that are a lot bigger. That explains Clear Lake.
I believe I could answer
it's
that.
got more fish and it's got bigger fish.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me compare it to Lake Norman. All right. So you go to Lake Norman, you catch 40 or 50 2-pound spots a day. You go to Clear Lake, you might catch 40 or 50 5-pound bass a day. So that's the difference. And, my experience up there, too, when I've been up there filming with Demiki, now this has not been during a tournament situation, but I think I've been up there for 4 weeks now, and not all in one stretch, but 1 week a year we go up there and we film with Demiki, shoot product videos and stuff like that. And, when I'm there, I hardly ever see another boat. They talk about the pressure out there, but, I'll be there for a week straight, and I may see 3 people bass fishing on Clear Lake. I don't think it gets much pressure at all unless there's a major tournament up there, be it a West Coast Trail or something like that, or a Costa Series event. The lake doesn't get all that much pressure, and I think those fish, they're not accustomed to seeing baits year round every day. So
like they are around here.
Yeah, like they are. I mean, I think at Lake Norman there's 7 or 8 tournaments a week out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
52 weeks a year. But to me, that's what makes it so fun. That, and it has grass. I mean, traveling all over the country. Yeah, traveling over the country. Any lake that's got grass has always got bigger fish that are more willing to bite, and usually more of them than lakes that don't have grass.
And the forage seems to thrive in those.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is with the grass. Lakes that have grass, you've got more bait, more bluegill, and I think it's just a lot healthier lake.
All right, so I hope that answers y'all's pre-show questions. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, guys, we're going to start answering questions live, so y'all stay with us, okay?
Some brands test their oil deep in Siberia. We focus on places you actually drive, deep in the cul-de-sac. Nothing exotic, just damn good oil.
All right, guys, we're back. We're going to dive right into the live questions. Don't forget, we're giving away an FLW membership tonight. It's about a $50 to $60 value. We're going to do that at the end of the show, but it's going to involve Brian here asking an FLW-related trivia question. And this question, if it's tough, well, all y'all have access to the internet, obviously. You're gonna probably be Googling the answer.
First correct answer wins.
But the first correct answer is going to win this membership package. Includes a magazine, the calendar, a year of tournament eligibility, a tackle pack, hat, decal, all kinds of good stuff.
Right.
All right, so be sure to stay on. Let's start answering some questions live. I'm gonna pull my phone out of this thing so I can actually see them a little bit better.
That's a good idea. Well, no, it's not.
Let's see what I started over there, Jeff. All right,
Every time I try to be like Matt, I realize it's a bad idea.
Well, you'll never be like Matt. So Remember that saying, "Be like Mike"? It just ain't gonna happen.
Were you trying to be like in Saturday?
True. That's what I was doing. That was a good one, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I hope most of our viewers didn't catch that. They're picking on me, obviously.
I couldn't resist.
Yeah. Hey, all right, y'all started something now. I have never zeroed in a tour level event.
I haven't either.
I have.
That's 2 against 1.
No, that was a Costa tournament.
Yeah.
So we won't qualify that as a tour level event.
It's still.
And
I'm going to count it. I'm going to own my zero. It happens.
It does.
I learned from it. Don't be hard headed.
All right, so let's start with some questions. Oh, Andy said, "Man, I'm always sitting down at dinner with the family and y'all kick it up. Bad table manners listening to y'all. Have to catch up with the recording. No, just put it on the big screen and let everybody at the table watch it.
Nah, if you're eating, that's family time.
Oh, Melinda's on. She said she never got a 7.5 pounder to bite once, much less how many times yours bite?
She accused me of being on a different lake. She did.
Well, you did bring in 27.5 pounds. All right, so let's see. Been catching a lot of fish. Oh, okay. Jack Howell said, been catching a lot of fish on top on Lake Hartwell, but no one is catching good fish. What do I need to do to get a bigger bite? Well, Hartwell, this time of year, it seems like your average weight that wins down there seems to be 10 to 15 pounds. I mean, I don't think you're missing the boat too much down there. That ABA thing that was down there a couple weeks ago, I mean, it'd take what?
I haven't seen
27, 28 pounds for 2 days or something to win it.
Yeah. To me, fishing around this area, throwing topwater in the fall, it's more getting a big bite on top's more luck. Like, you can't say, I'm going to go here and I'm going to catch a big one. You've just got to hit 100 different places and hope you catch a big one.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the way I think, anyway.
No, and I agree. I think covering water is a big deal. All right, Tyler Thompson said, when you're ledge fishing, what depths are most guys talking about on lakes like Kentucky and others on the Tennessee River? Tyler, that's ledge fishing to me. I've caught them as deep as 38, 39 foot, and I'm sure Brian
and as
has
shallow
too.
as 3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean, well, I wouldn't consider that ledge fishing.
Well, yeah,
the 3
you
or 4.
got to.
Well, that's a bar. That's the top of a bar.
No, I mean, it could still be on the break. I mean, if
if you want to look at it that way, yeah. So Brian's saying 3 foot to 40 feet.
I'm saying a ledge is
somewhere between 3 and 250.
Yeah. Somewhere
any
between
drop
like
to me is considered a ledge. I mean, people call drops on points ledges, anything like that. My definition of a ledge is pretty much a straight line of it's this depth here and it's a whole lot shallower here and it just goes. To me, that's a ledge. And there'll be little subtleties in it, little turns or points and stuff like that. But any significant drop to me is a ledge.
Okay, so he says 2 foot to 40 foot,
2 to 40.
Depending on where there's a transition.
Yeah.
240.
2 to 40.
2 to 40.
2 to 40.
But yeah, so I have caught them. And one thing I'll tell you is don't be afraid to look super deep on those lakes, because back in the day, everybody seemed to catch them in that 18 to 25, and I've noticed several years we've been there, fish have
people
gotten
are starting to catch
really
them in
deep.
that 30 to 35 range.
A lot of fish in 30 to 35 foot last time we were there, as a matter of fact. We'll be there in May next year, and you'll get to see ledge fishing at its best from some.
I don't know. I think they're going to be shallower then.
I hope they are shallow.
I do too.
I don't like fighting 100 boats for a spot out there myself. But Daniel said, are y'all ready for Smith Lake in April? Absolutely. Love that lake. Can't wait to catch a big giant spot out there. Josh, okay, here's a good question for you, Brian. Josh Harbison said, what makes a good bar on Kentucky Lake that you would pick out on mapping and say, I'm going to fish that one?
I can't really look at a map and tell. It's more of I need to ride over it and idle and see what's there, make a few casts, and I stop and check everything, even if it doesn't look good, because you never know where the fish are going to be. I mean, there could be bait. If I idle around and see bait in the area, obviously I'm going to fish it. But any ledge, I'll pull up and I'll make a couple of casts with a football jig or a Carolina rig, feel what the bottom feels like. If it's got good hard bottom, I'm going to keep fishing down it, because to me that's the key. You want a hard bottom. And if there's hard bottom there and the current's coming over it just right, odds are there's going to be a group of fish there somewhere. You've got to fish to find them. And that's the way I like to do. I don't really do good with the idling around and trying to mark them and graph them. I like to find them more just fishing. And I feel like when you find them just fishing, they're less likely other people have found them also, because it's usually smaller groups of fish. I mean, it may be a school of 10 to 20 fish instead of one of the mega schools that go for 300 yards down a ledge, and you'll have those fish to yourself.
Yeah, and that's a good tip on using a search bait to fill the bottom out.
Right, exactly.
A lot of people don't do that. And, being patient. If you've got the time to put in and you're getting ready for a tournament, be patient. Like Brian said, cover water. Go down the bars that don't look good. Because that one or two little bitty isolated schools that you do find, you're much more likely to have them to yourself.
Exactly. Plus, and that always plays into my tournament strategy on a ledge lake, because if I find a couple of little out-of-the-way places like that I don't think anybody found, if I get an early boat draw day one of the tournament, I can run over here to the mega school that everybody found, but since I've got an early draw, I can get on it first, and I can milk it for all it's worth the first day and fall back on those little subtle places I found in practice for the second day. So you've kind of got more options.
Bobby Barron said, why is SMC, he's talking about the Scott Martin Challenge, going live 6 minutes before y'all do? I told Jeff that earlier, and Scott and I are good buddies, and he's trying to jack our idea.
Is he really?
Said he put a post out. He said,
be taking live questions.
So hey, what y'all ought to do is we don't want y'all to leave our show, but you ought to jump over there on Scott's show.
Ask him why he's not watching Let's Talk Fish Live.
Ask him why he's not watching Let's Talk Fish.
That's a good idea.
Tell him to quit trying to jack our time slot on Tuesday nights. But anyway, I thought that was kind of funny that I saw Bobby post that, so I had to bring that up. Blake said, Matt, who is your jig sponsor and your favorite model to use? Blake, I use a lot of different jigs, as do we all. Brian's with Demiki. He likes the Mama jig.
Yeah, I like the Mama jig a lot.
I'm with Lunker Hunt. We don't have an actual casting jig. We have a swim jig. And our swim jig's great because it's wire tied skirts, a super sharp hook. It's got a great keeper on it. It's hand custom painted heads. But we use a lot of different hand tied jigs and things like that too. So
I think that's the key anytime you're looking for a good jig is there's really two main things to look for. You want a hand tied or a tied skirt. It don't have to be hand tied, but it could have the wire wrap, just something that's tying the skirt to the jig. And you want a good sharp hook. That's the two key ingredients to a jig. Everything else doesn't really matter. It'll work in some fashion as long as you've got a good hook and a skirt that's actually connected to the bait.
Christopher shot out a question to Brian. He said on day one at the Coast Championship you stated you felt like you figured something out at the end of the day. Just curious what that was. Christopher, I don't know, he might have missed the first part of the show, but I'll just tell him real quick.
Yeah.
Basically what he figured out was
slow down.
He threw the 7.5 pounder he caught that day. He threw how many times to the same spot?
30 minutes straight.
30 minutes straight he threw at a fish that blew up on his spook, and he threw at it 30 minutes straight.
And I caught it.
And he finally caught it. And that right there is what tipped him off to slow down.
It didn't work the rest of the time, as you
probably saw. What he thought was the deal.
Then he threw for 16 more hours straight.
Yes, and got one bite.
Same cast.
Caught two bass. Josh Perryman. What's up, Josh? He said, can you talk a little bit about hook sets when punching heavier weights, rod power tip suggestions? Also, any tips pulling real big ones out of the mat? You want to touch on that, Brian?
Yeah, the rod I use, Fitzgerald rods, that's how they started their rod company, was with flipping rods. They've got a rod they call the Hydrilla rod and a rod they call the Okeechobee rod, and those are the two I use. They've got the perfect action, the perfect balance, flipping those big weights all day. But when I get that initial bite, I just kind of do a hard lean hook set. I mean, I don't want to drop and give them slack.
Not like a snap hook set.
You never want to drop slack to the line. You want to keep that line tight and just kind of lean up as hard as you can and get those fish coming and just crank and pull as hard as you can until you either get them out of the mat or you pin them to the mat. The best thing you can do, and what I like to do, like a perfect situation, is I want to get them up in that grass at the top of the mat where they can't move, and then I want to go in there and get them out. But a lot of times you just jerk them on out of there, and when that happens, you're close, so you just boat flip them. I mean, if it's under 10 pounds, I'm boat flipping it.
Yeah, if you got the right setup, you can boat flip.
Yeah, you can boat flip 8-9 pounders all day long, especially if you're using a good quality rod like that high driller rod. And I'm flipping 65-pound P-line TCB X braid. I mean, you don't have anything to worry about with that.
Yeah, and that's my setup's real similar. Scott Martin, who designed the his signature series for Okuma, which is my rod sponsor, they have several different flipping rods to choose from. It's a 711 that I use. There's 2 different actions based on the weight, whether I'm flipping an ounce, ounce and a half, or even up to 2 ounces. I'll go to the extra heavy. But Brian nailed the hook set. I mean, I think the biggest mistake you can make is by going down before you go up. So don't do that. I think keeping that rod in the right position is important. That way you can lean into them. I think you can go on YouTube and watch some of the tournaments from Florida over the years and watch some of the best, like Brandon McMillan and Randall Tharp, and some of those guys that are super, super good at, or just known for their flipping prowess down in Florida, and watch those guys. And Trevor, Fitzgerald, he's got some videos on there, I'm sure, where he's flipping and punching. And watch those guys on the hook set, and that'll pretty much tell you everything you need to know. Let's see. Chad Wright said, do you both use the Hydra Wave? He said, I think Matt does, but can you tell it works? Chad, absolutely 100%. Certain situations, it will change the game, I promise you. And one of those situations was at Lake Murray, and I don't think it necessarily, it's not a cure-all. You're not going to turn it on and just start catching bass. But there's situations
that it definitely helps.
Absolutely helps. And
we turned it on a moss, a month and a half ago?
That's right.
Yeah. And you caught 2 foot off the
know
boat.
what we should do one night? We should bring it in here and put it in the tank and see what the bass does.
Hey, that's a good idea.
Would y'all like to see that?
Yeah,
I think that's a good
right.
test.
We'll bring the Hydra Wave in here, and we'll test it first to make sure we're not going to shock him or do something crazy.
Well, it's not going to do that. It's sound waves.
I don't want to kill Mr. Wilson's all I'm saying.
It's not going to.
But literally, you flipped it on a moss that time.
If it killed bass when you turned it on
well,
a lake, they would float on.
There's like 4,000 wires running through the studio. You know how Jeff is.
Well, we'll have to get a 12-volt battery. You can't plug it into a 110 socket.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You can't go dynamite fishing in an aquarium.
I'm starting to worry about Matt. He thinks you can take a 12-volt Hydra Wave and plug it into a 110 wall socket.
Well, that's probably what I would have done if it wasn't for y'all.
This ain't good.
All right, Weston McChristian, he said, any good tips on the A-Rig? There's been days, Brian is a huge A-Rig fan. So
I like A-Rig.
He'll eat this one up. He said, there's been days I fish this thing all day and can't get a bite. And then Weston, that probably has a lot to do with just the situation and the conditions. He said, I've thrown it for 4 years and caught 3 fish, Beaver Lake and Table Rock. You want to help him out, Brian?
That's not good.
Yeah, that's not a good thing, Wes.
That's not a shot at you, but you should have caught more than 3 bass at Beaver and Table Rock.
Yeah, we're not laughing at you, Wes. The A-Rig is a feast or famine type deal. You gotta use it in the right conditions, and I'll let Brian kind of touch on the conditions.
If you want to just go out and have fun with the rig when the bite supposedly should be on, especially around Beaver and Table Rock, go out there February and March when they're pre-spawn. They're starting to stage up, and just get on those 45-degree banks leading into pockets, stuff like that. Kind of the last deep water before fish start flattening, before the banks start flattening out, where those fish are going to stage on those transition banks. And just throw that rig down those banks, especially if you've got bait in the area. You're going to get bit, hands down. But I think fish are definitely wising up to an A-rig. I mean, you can't just throw a big gaudy A-rig out there with any old swim bait on it. I mean, you've got to match the watercolor and the bait size. You've really got to pay attention to that. And one I've started throwing a lot is it's a little finesse style A-rig. I'm trying
real
to think.
Light wires, real compact.
Lighter wires. It's got 4 little number 3 willow leaf blades. ER Lures makes it, and I've been using it. And I put the little 4-inch Demiki anchovy shad. I'll use the white silver flake if the water's dirty. But, if that water's clear, I want a swim bait that's going to match the watercolor. So I'll switch up to a Pro Blue or something like that. And I'll actually, for a tournament, I'll have 2 rigs tied on and have different color baits on each rig for each color of water I might get into during the course of the day.
Yeah, that's good advice from one of the best rig fishermen I know.
I don't know if I'm the best. I'm going to say Brian New's the best. He's pretty good.
Trey Dotson wants to know what's the deepest you guys have ever caught a bass. Mine is 56 feet at Smith Lake.
Mine is 52 feet at Kentucky Lake.
Okay, 52 feet at Kentucky Lake. Maybe I'm not. You said 2 to 40 feet earlier.
It wasn't on a ledge.
What was it doing? Just swimming out in the ocean somewhere?
Yes. It was way off the ledge.
Well, okay.
The ledge was here, bass was here.
Yeah, got you. All right, you want to take a quick break, Jeff? We're going to take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back. We're getting ready to answer.
Don't forget our question for the giveaway.
Yeah, don't forget the giveaway. Y'all stay on, and we're going to answer a few more questions live here in just a second.
All right, guys, we're back. I want to thank everybody for all the questions and comments. I want to give a shout out to Trevor. They've got a ASU fundraiser tournament at Lake Norman this Sunday, and they're actually going to run it in conjunction.
Is that
with,
Appalachian State?
Yep, okay. Appalachian State. They're going to run that in conjunction with the winter trail at Lake Norman. So if you're planning on going to Lake Norman and fishing the winter trail, the times are going to be the same. They're going to weigh in at the same time, blast off at the same time. If you're going to fish the winter trail, might as well get into other tournament too. More bang for your buck. Plus, you're helping a good cause. You're getting a group of guys, helping them raise money to fish the college series tournaments, and it's going to be fun for everybody. Everybody's going to win all the way around. So make sure you check that out Sunday morning if you're at Lake Norman. I think they're going out of Queens or Pinnacle Landing. So jump in both of them.
Yeah, that's a good deal. Anytime growing up, if there was a team tournament, there were 2 going out of one ramp.
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you get in?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
especially on one for a good cause.
Yeah, because you never know when you're going to go out there and catch 27 pounds on a Demeke Rambler and win by 7 pounds. I mean, it could be that day, and then you just win 1 instead of 2.
Brian, you have a challenger.
I have a challenger.
Chris Bishop said, Brian, you pick the lake during the spawn. I'll put up $1,000. You put up $1,000 head to head for 8 hours.
That's serious.
He said you get to pick the lake too.
That's serious.
You know Chris Bishop?
No.
All right, Chris.
You want to sponsor me, mate?
Yeah, I'll put my money on Brian.
I'm in too.
Yeah. Now, Chris might be some sight fishing phenom. That's why he said.
I'm no good at sight fishing.
That's why he said the spawn. Yes, you are.
I've got a lake I'll go 10,000 on in August.
Oh,
for 3 hours.
I'll sponsor you for that one too.
I'll give you 8 hours and I'll fish 3 hours.
Oh wow! Now that is some serious smack talk right there. I like it. Thomas Eskew said Scott went off right when we were going live. That's because he's scared. Thomas.
Oh.
Yeah. Good. I hope all his viewers came from his show over here. Let's see. Rodney DeGree said Brian wins a diaper party.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I don't know if everybody knows, but Brian and Allison are expecting their second child in June of 2018.
We are. We went today for the first ultrasound, and everything looks good.
Everything's good. That's awesome.
Yay. I gotta start saving money now. I really could have used that win at the Coast Championship.
Josh Harbison, I was asking another question about the bars on Kentucky Lake. If most of the ones you fished were on the main lake.
Yeah, most of the ones all the ones I fished were on the main lake, and all of them were main river bars. I really didn't get off the actual main river stretch because my thinking on that was it'd been cold during practice. We had 4 really cold nights and cold days. And I figured those fish that were on the back channels and stuff maybe pulled back out to the actual main river bar. And then plus I figured shad that were in the main river might start moving back in the creeks, and that's the first place they got to come to. That was my thought process.
That's an interesting theory. Obviously, it worked out pretty well for a
One day.
seventh place finish. I mean, let's see. Trey Dodson said, Brian, sun drop with the green cap. Do you know what the difference is between the green and the white cap?
I don't know about the cap colors, but I do know the 16-ounce sun drop tastes way better than the 20-ounce. That is a fact.
In a plastic bottle?
In a plastic bottle.
Is the white not a diet?
It could be, but some white. I mean, I'm telling you, 16-ounce sun drop tastes better than 20-ounce. It does. I don't know if the
Write
ratio
that down, Jeff.
That is fact. You can ask
Take it to the
anybody
bank.
in this region of North Carolina, and they will say the same because it's a fact. And see, stores that don't carry the true 16-ounce bottles, they carry like tall, skinny bottles that are like 16.4 ounces. This is the one.
0.4 ounces.
Wait, what is that
Changes
now?
the
So
flavor.
I
This
know.
is 16 fluid ounces
16.0, basically.
of deliciousness.
Of deliciousness.
Yes.
All right. Jonathan Carter said, Brian and Matt, do you prefer fairly heavy braid or heavy fluoro for flipping shallow wood and pad stems? Well, to me, wood and pad stems, if I can get away with braid in any type of vegetation, that's what I go with, especially pad stems because those things are snarly.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
you
are
won't
gnarly.
certainly slice through it. I use fluoro, 17 to 20 pound fluoro flipping wood 95% of the time.
I use it all the time. If I'm not, pretty much the only time I flip with braid is if I'm actually punching grass mats.
Yeah, and I try to keep it the same.
Yeah, I don't like to use braid and wood and stuff like that. I'd rather use the P-Line Tactical Fluorocarbon, and I think I just feel like you get more bites because usually you're in a clear water situation when I'm doing stuff like that.
Yeah, no, and I agree. You know, and a lot of the lakes that we go to typically have clear water. Jeff just got up and left.
He just left. He's abandoned us.
Like he's out. Like he just got up and left. I wonder if it's that moon pie he ate or something.
Ooh, not good.
Let's
Maybe he's
see.
going to get a 16-ounce sun drop.
That's why he's hunting up a sun drop to figure out if you're telling the truth about the difference. 100 plus viewers for over 30 minutes. Thanks, guys. That's awesome. Keep sharing, guys. We love talking to you. We love getting the questions. They said thanks for the tips on the A-rig, by the way, Brian.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. You guys prefer EWG or straight shank flipping hooks when flipping, and why? That's a great question. Dominic Joseph asked that question. I know you started.
I'll take it. I use a straight shank on every bait I flip with unless I'm flipping a tube of some style. If
Now,
I use
is that flipping every type of cover?
every type of cover,
Okay.
I use a straight shank hook unless I'm flipping a tube. And the only reason for that is a straight shank hook, it's hard to keep the point where you want it in a tube like it is a regular piece of thick soft plastic like a Debinky Knockout or something like that. But anytime I'm flipping a Knockout or any other bait, I use a straight shank, and tube I use the EWG.
Yeah, so I'm the same way. I'm straight shank.
And I
90%
always
of the time.
snail my knot when I'm flipping too, unless I'm flipping a tube.
There you go. Carlos King said, would y'all like to come fish at FLW tournament at Winyah Bay in South Carolina?
No. 2 reasons.
What?
Tide, river.
All right, y'all got that. Well, I was going to say yeah, just because I'd like to go somewhere new. But
Tide, river, no.
tide and river, it kind of turns me off a little bit too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm always up for. I like to go down there and just fish it for fun sometimes, just to see it. I know there's some big ones that live down there.
Yeah, they catch a lot of big ones down there.
They seem to be tough to catch sometimes, but David Williams is on. What's up, David? He said pre-rut, rut, or post-rut. Deer are running. Who's fishing?
I'm fishing.
Brian's fishing. I'm hunting. Deer are in the hard pre-rut around here. To answer your question, David, and I'm leaving in the morning to go down to Chatham County to deer hunt with a buddy of mine for 4 days. While Brian's probably going to be on the lake every day. Hence
Yeah.
the reason he wins a lot more money fishing than I do.
I don't know if I'm gonna go Thursday. I think I'm gonna go fish Thursday.
Fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still bow season. I knew you weren't talking about hunting.
No, no. I might sit in my backyard a little bit during rifle season.
Hey, Bobby Barron said he wants to put money on Brian too for that bet. Chris said, are the Asian carp having a big effect on Kentucky Lake? Or he said on my lake. Chris, I'm assuming you either meant Kentucky or...
There's a lot of them on Kentucky.
Yeah, so Brian told me when he got back that he... You know, I noticed some when we were there last year.
Yeah.
And some guys were starting to talk about it. They're coming down through the river and getting through the lock. And
it's bad down there now.
They took out of Paris. Most of these carp came from the dam. And
I guess.
I mean, it's the only way they got in the river, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I guess they did got to come up out of the Ohio.
Yeah,
but
so if you think
there's
about
a lot
that,
of carp.
that's 50, 60 miles right there.
Oh, yeah. And I practiced one day south of New Johnsonville, and they're way down there, and there's lots of them.
I saw guys posting pictures off their graph.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Literally, those carp are blacking out guys' graphs. And this super invasive species. And,
yeah.
and
From what I saw, I don't think it's an exaggeration, but if they could get every carp out of Kentucky Lake at one time, the lake level would probably drop like 10 feet.
I believe it. I mean,
there's that many in there.
I saw it in the Ohio and the Cumberland River when we were there for the Coast Championship 2 years ago, I think it was.
And they're nasty too. When they jump in the boat, they're slimy, they bleed.
And I actually, did you catch any?
No, I didn't catch you. I hooked one, I think. I hooked one.
Okay, so I caught some in the mouth.
Really?
I caught one on a jig, and I caught one on a little Bandit 200 crankbait.
In the Ohio River.
I'm talking inside the mouth. So that tells me,
they're eating everything.
And they're starting to eat absolutely everything.
Yeah, so you know they're eating all the small fry and shad and crawfish, just whatever they can get their mouth on.
Extremely detrimental to that fishery. Hopefully the guys will get it under control, or they'll be able to do something. I don't know what the solution is to that.
I don't know either, and I don't know if anybody does, except for maybe time will tell.
Yeah.
But right now it's looking like a bad deal. So hopefully things work out, because Kentucky Lake's a phenomenal fishery. I mean, what's bad about it is that lake's connected to every lake all the way up to Fort Loudon, Tellico. I mean, Pickwick's next. Then you got Wheeler, Wilson, all those lakes, Gunnersville, Chick. I mean, I think 15, 20 years they could be all the way up to Chickamauga.
Yeah, so that's scary to think about.
That's really a scary deal to think about what could happen if somebody way smarter than me doesn't figure out a solution.
Ryan Love said cap colors for Sundrop is based on who bottled it.
Ooh.
So you know the answer to that question now. Todd
Where
Seisner,
was this one bottled?
Todd Seisner.
That's what I was laughing at.
What? Todd, I don't know why you're asking that question. Todd said, is Thrift drunk? What? He acts like this all the time, Todd, I promise.
What? Come on, Todd. You've talked to me enough to know better than that.
See, let's see. There's several people that agreed with you on the 16-ounce sun drop.
It's a known fact.
Oh,
I actually run this. Oh, right here. The guys from Demeke were down here a couple weeks ago. Daniel and Gino.
Yep.
Stayed at my house. We fished Moss and Norman. Had an awesome time. I introduced them to sun drop. I got them a 20-ounce sun drop, and then we were somewhere and we got 16-ounce sun drops. And I put them in the boat before we went to Norman. I said the 16-ounce ones are way better. They tried one and they agreed instantly. This is better.
I'm going to have to do a taste test. Now I'm going to have to get
it's
a
proven
20
fact.
and a 16, and not the 16 point something, right?
No, this one right here. That one.
Gotcha. Oh, Chad Wright said Moss Lake is the $10,000 lake in August. I can guarantee it. What a demoralizing lake in the summer.
it is a demoralizing. I don't know if I could put 10 grand on Moss.
What is the lake in August that you were going to bet on?
I can't release it
until it's time. Where to go?
He don't till it's time to get in the money's on the table.
Oh, he wants the money.
Then he knows
first. Okay. What's the best lure? Wait. Cannon Ford, I can't understand your question. It said, what best lure used when being from?
Shake your head. I can interpret that.
Can you translate that for me, Jeff?
Shake your head.
Chris Bishop. Oh,
he's asking.
He's talking smack. He said, "Sounds like Ryan is scared of the bedfish challenge. Not many."
He's asking, "What's the best lure?" Why? I guess you're fishing off the back of the boat as a co angler.
Maybe so.
Shaky head.
Shaky head, Brian's right.
I interpret it.
Yeah, you're going to catch more fish on a shaky head, straight tail worm than you will anything else out there, year in and year out.
Any time of year, also.
Wayman Coleman, we're not going to hold that against you. He said, "What's up, guys? Sorry, I'm late to the party." Okay, Ryan's given us the entire history and the whole rundown of Sundrop. He said before the King family out of Concord, North Carolina sold Sundrop and Cheerwine, they used the yellow caps on their bottles. So there's actually been 3 different color caps on Sundrop bottles. Did you know that? You're a Sundrop expert.
I did not.
Well, you should know that.
I didn't become a connoisseur till a couple of years ago. See, I just like
This is not wine.
I just liked Sundrop till about 6 or 7 years ago. I became a connoisseur.
Jeff said it's not wine, dude.
It is. I'll tell you, the optimum temperature too is when you have it in a cooler.
Look, most people have a, what do you call it when you keep your wine in? And,
Yeah, a wine cooler.
Well, there's a name for those things. That
A wine
maintain
cooler.
A certain temperature.
That's what it's called. I looked at it today.
He's probably got one of those in his house or something.
What's
The optimum temperature. I don't know the actual degree, but you get it out of the cooler at the store, wherever you purchase it, and you open, like, it's not frozen. There's no ice in it at all. And as soon as you crack the cap, little ice crystals come to the top. That's what you want.
That's perfect.
That's perfect.
That's perfect deliciousness.
Yes. Perfect deliciousness of a Sunday.
All right, guys, it's pushing 8 o'clock here. We're gonna start wrapping our show up here in just a few minutes. We're gonna answer a couple more questions, and then we're gonna do our giveaway. So thanks for staying on, everybody that's staying on. Jesse said good luck in Chatham County. I live just down the road, and it should be right this weekend. I can't wait, Jesse. Looking forward to getting down there. Josh said, have either of you fished on Kiowee? Josh, I fished on Kiowee 3 times in my life. Have you fished down there?
One time in my life.
One time, okay. So that's 4 times total between the 2 of us.
I've taken a bath in Kiowee.
Oh, look, no wonder you
About
can't catch
2 o'clock
fish
in
in
the morning.
Kiowee.
You hear Thrift? He said, no wonder you can't catch fish in Kiowee, because Jeff used to take baths in that lake.
Hey.
It's a beautiful lake. It's got a lot of nice spotted bass. It's got some big largemouth in it, too.
You know, if we're fixing to wind down, we might as well go ahead and ask this question for the giveaway.
Yeah, that's true. So we're going to ask this question. Brian's going to ask the question.
I have came up with the question.
Let's do it at 8 o'clock on the dot. So
8 on the
share
dot.
for 2 minutes.
Yeah, share this for 2 minutes.
8 o'clock on the dot.
8 o'clock.
And at 8
We're
o'clock
doing
on the dot, we're going to ask our trivia
Wait,
questions.
why would they share to get more people on? Because that's less of a chance.
Why would you say that and not get them to share?
It's reverse psychology, dude.
They're on my team.
It's a Jedi mind trick. You never seen Star Wars?
All right, let's see. Rodney said FLW going to Wiley anytime soon. Rodney, they have BFLs there every year, but I would love to.
It's not really a big enough lake for a tour.
I'd like to see Cup there.
I don't know if it's big enough for a cup
They had
either.
the Classic there, and it was pretty good. I mean, it fished pretty well.
Wiley's not near the fishery it used to be back then.
You're
either.
exactly right. You're exactly right. Let's see. They're talking. Brian Neal said that the Asian carp sounds like the invasive lionfish. They do tournaments trying to reduce the numbers. Yeah, but the difference, Brian.
I've never heard of a lionfish.
You don't know what a lionfish is?
What's a lion?
It's a saltwater. You ever seen?
I mean, I know what the
they-
saltwater
they-
lionfish that you step on and they kill you.
That's.
I know what
That's
it-
what he's talking about. That's what he's talking about. And the difference.
They
between
live in
that-
freshwater?
No.
Well, see, you can't. We're going on a whole different deal.
But that lionfish is really good to eat. So I've heard.
Really?
Yeah, seriously. I
But
saw
it'll
that.
kill you.
No, not if you eat it. It's poisonous to other fish. I don't know. Maybe they'll give us a
And you looking at me like I was.
lesson on that. I mean, I don't know how it kills other fish.
What?
It's 8 o'clock.
Let's
all right,
just
8 o'clock.
let's
do the
stop
trivia
this.
question.
Let's go to the trivia.
We don't
All
like
right.
about lionfish, so I might bring
You're saying
They live in freshwater,
lion.
too.
Lion, right? Like an animal, lion?
Like a rare.
lionfish. Is it supposed to be 2 syllables?
Lion.
Like you talking about an animal at the zoo, right?
Like a fish that tells lies. No, it's a lionfish.
Yeah. That's where you confuse me because it's lion.
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 Oh, you mean like a line, like a straight line?
Yeah. Like
Oh,
that's,
I got
guys,
it
that's
now.
why
I
y'all
got it.
get confused.
We got 120 people to answer this trivia question. I'm going to
All right.
warn you, Brian Campbell, this question, it's not an easy question. Every week that we're going to answer, we're going to have a question and give away a membership.
Which is awesome.
Which is awesome. And thank FLW for that. Be sure to follow and like FLW's page. And on top of that, Brian is coming up with these FLW questions.
I got to do it every week. I thought just this week.
All right, I'll come up with it next week.
Yeah,
So
I think
if
so.
this question's too tough, blame Brian.
All right. Question for the FLW giveaway, membership, all this cool stuff.
First person to answer correctly.
First correct answer is the winner. Jeff and Matt, are y'all watching the feed here?
We are watching the feed.
I don't even know the question or the answer, but I'm watching.
Jeff don't know the answer. All right.
I'll hook you up. I got you.
Matt may know. He was there. I do not know. All right. The question is, somebody give me a drum roll or anything, or I just got to go with it. All right, drum roll. Here we go. Whoa. All right. The question.
Christmas vacation?
Oh yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah. All right, trivia question. In 2010, the last time the FLW Tour came to Lake Norman for a tour event, how many local anglers made the top 10?
All right, y'all got that? Anybody need that question again? So, when the FLW Tour came to Lake Norman in 2010, how many local anglers made the top 10?
Answers.
We just need a number on how many
between 1 and 10.
made the top 10. For real? Oh, we're getting some answers.
I don't see a correct answer.
Nope.
You know,
we have a winner.
It's kind of a trick question.
We have a winner.
We got a winner. I don't see a winner.
Wait, what was the answer? How many was it? Oh, yeah, there's a winner.
Yeah.
All right, Cannon Ford answered it correctly. There was three. And Brian, you're going to name them.
All right, I'm going to name them. There were 3 local anglers in that Lake Norman Tour tournament. Myself, which I won the event. Andy Montgomery.
Had to throw that in there.
That was my first ever tour win.
That's true.
My first ever one. So myself, Andy Montgomery, and another local angler that fished the tour for 5 or 6 years, Brian Travis.
That's right.
There were 3 of us.
3 guys made the top 10. All right, I'm not going to say anything.
They're kidding you, right? Aren't they kidding you?
I think that's a joke. I hope that's a joke. All right, guys, y'all can quit answering. We have a winner. I mean, you can answer if you want to. But
keep replying.
So Jeff, tell Cannon Ford what he needs to do to claim his prize.
Just PM or direct message or private message our Facebook page, and we'll
send the code.
Yeah.
So Ken, what it is, it's a code that you'll go to FLW's website. We'll make sure you get that taken care of. Just PM us your information. We'll shoot you back that code info, and you'll be able to submit it and get your free membership package. Okay, guys. Thanks so much.
Was that too hard of a question?
No.
I don't think it was. I think it was good. Is that a good question?
The thing about it is, it was the answer was.
They had a
1 through 10.
10% chance of getting it right.
People could just start guessing.
Yeah, that's true. We may have to be a little more specific next
we're
time.
going to get a little tougher next week. So,
a little tougher.
Guys, thanks for watching. When we can't fish, we're going to sit here on Tuesday nights and
we're
talk
hog fish. Remember, next Tuesday night, Hydro Wave.
Oh, yeah. So
that's going to be awesome. We're going to do
a
science experiment on Let's Talk Fish.
We're going to put the Hydro Wave in Mr. Wilson's tank. So, guys, be sure to tune in next week. Thanks for watching. See y'all soon.
See you guys.